Episode 3.
We're back.
We're back after a little gap off.
Yep.
We're pretty busy with a few things.
Yep.
Muay Thai World Cup. You went on holiday?
Holiday.
Yeah? Do you have a good time?
Great time, man. Happy to be back.
Looking tanned.
Yeah, man. Is
that red or is that a tattoo?
That is, my son calls it golden. I'm going to stick with that.
All right, as you know, we drink beer, we talk shit, talk fights. And Big Rock Brewery, Tragically Hip.
Canada's band, Tragically Hip, Lake Fever Lager. These are, legendary in Calgary.
And it's super hot today as well, so this is going to go down too easy.
Cheers, my friend.
All right.
Cheers to you, Big Rock.
Good. All right. So this episode is a Raw episode, and we're actually going to go from the event on July the 3rd, Muay Thai World Cup, a drive-in edition, which had all the loopholes and problems because it was COVID period to do. And some people thought it was a bit insane. I should have waited, but that's not how I operate, as you know.
Yeah, man, it was awesome.
It was awesome. Yeah,
it was a drive-in fight card. Have you ever heard of that before?
To be honest, I actually have. There was one in England a few years ago, and I think it was a semi-success, but it wasn't like this one. That one was more of a cage show, had the screen above it. But as you know, this one had LED screens. Yeah. The sound was ridiculous.
yeah.
Like crazy sound. I actually didn't know. I don't know if you know this, but initially, and I'm not so sure if you saw it on the pay-per-view or not, or the stream if you watched it from home, is initially I thought your voices were just going to be for the stream.
Me too.
And when it was basically on speakers for everyone, I looked at the director, great guy, fantastic guy, and I went, it works. And it felt like, I don't know if you've been to them, I'm sure you have, but it felt like it was outdoor Thailand.
Yeah, matter of fact, it's because of the outdoor Thailand show. So same thing. I was literally talking, and then all of a sudden I'm hearing my booming voice, and as I'm still trying to commentate, I'm like, everybody can hear me? And I admit, I did think of those Thailand shows, and so I did try to sort of change it a little bit, because I also did hear, I got a text from somebody who said, hey, can you sort of tell us what's happening? We're way in the back. So I tried to mix it, because I remember people are online, people are in the crowd, so I tried to make it a little more sort of fan-friendly for both sides. I hope it worked out. It was fun.
Oh, yeah. It's different.
Yep.
Do you know what, though? Because I had multiple guys fighting on the card, and I was sitting in the corner, and sometimes you would hear you commentating about the fight, and it's quite interesting. Now, for me, it didn't really bother me because I'm channeling in on the fighter to watch the fight.
Yeah.
But what I'm laughing at is mainly wonder what the fighter's thinking about you commentating.
I know, man.
And I think that happened.
I hated that. I hated that they could hear me.
Yeah, but you were honest, and that's all that matters.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, it was different. That's for sure. And the fighters, I think they did hear you, especially Fitzpatrick, who's very emotionally driven too.
Oh.
And he looked over a few times, maybe Fitzpatrick should do this a bit more. And of course, it was, we heard a lot about your expert opinion on it.
Right.
But no, listen, it was all positive. There's nothing, but it was just funny how you were commentating on what I was wondering what the fighters were thinking.
Right.
While you were commentating, because you're like a second corner man, but a neutral corner man. Obviously,
yes.
That he has to listen to me or try to listen to me. And then, of course, you've got the loud, superior voice on those mics. And I was thinking,
Right. I agree. And so I did make sure, like, if there was somebody who I was really maybe highlighting or something that they were doing, I did feel that I was giving them an advantage. So I did want to make sure that I also commentated on the other side just to keep it neutral. I mean, I'm not on anyone's team, but it is weird, and I did have people ask me, it is weird to be totally impartial but completely honest with what's happening when I'm talking about you and you can hear me.
Yeah, but I think that's a good learning curve also for commentary, is, not really giving a shit about what everyone else thinks. This is what you're seeing.
Yes.
It's regardless, Even regardless to what I think or the other corner thinks or the fighters think, it's your opinion.
Well, in my job, and I took it seriously.
Yeah, of course.
And to be honest, I got a little bit of experience on the second one, because it was outdoor and there was only like 10 people out there, and again, everybody could hear me.
Yeah, true.
So I was a little used to it in that sense, but it is awkward, man. It's awkward.
Especially you've got intimidating guys like McKinnon and stuff.
That guy,
looking at you, you know, like looking down.
Oh boy, no kidding.
Oh yeah. So we'll go through the fights. First up was Johnson Garzon versus Kevin Castro.
Mm-hmm.
Good fight. The little guy is 119 pounds. Kevin Castro came to fight.
Yeah, I was impressed that he threw real heat right at the beginning, and I was a little concerned if he could do that for the entire fight. but you know, kudos to Johnson, man. Stayed nice and cool and calm and played a good, smart Muay Thai game.
Well, coming to Calgary, you're, I think, 3,500 feet above sea level. Am I right?
Yeah. Something
like that. And when you come from sea level, it does make a difference. So, if you do rewatch the fight with Johnson, I watched some videos of Castro, and he throws some crazy shit. He throws elbows, small angles, spinning kicks, and he's strong.
Yeah.
And if you look at his body type, he's like big back,
yeah,
short. Johnson's still sort of smaller frame, big thighs and stuff, but smaller frame. So psychologically, I said you have to get through the first 2 rounds because this guy's going to come bombing. And you have to be clear. You have to be clear. Your conscience has to be clear because he might even knock you down. He's that strong. But I know round 3, 4, 5, you watch, he's going to blow. How do you know? I said I can just tell because how he fights in his hometown and he's tired. Imagine coming here with the altitude. Right. How tired he's going to be. So there's a bit in it, and Johnson's mentioned it several times to me, and he's told a few of his students because he thinks it's hilarious. But I've done it multiple times. I put the fighters in a corner, but they never sit down in the corner. They're always standing.
Yeah.
My reason for that is 2 things. I used to do it when I used to fight myself. But the 2 things is, 1, you don't sit down when you're training. You're constantly on your feet. So it's...
Right.
I don't want that. You've got to keep your levels of fitness there. And when you sit, you sort of relax. Then you've got to try and raise again, relax.
Yeah.
And 2 is intimidation.
Right.
So round 3, I turned around to Johnson because I know he's lost round 1 and 2. And Johnson's not even blowing.
Yeah.
And I said... Look over my shoulder, and I turned around and I literally pointed at him and went, "He's fucked."
Right.
And then Castro's like this, and he looks up at me and goes, "Oh,
yeah,
like
busted."
yeah. So he's sitting on the stool, and it's just a pitch. So you're looking down on someone, and it gives you that. So then he went out, and he took his leg apart. It was still close, but in my opinion, he won round 3, 4, and 5, and showed a lot of maturity.
Yeah.
22 years old. Castro's young. He'll be back. And afterwards, him and his coach Sarah Carter. They were fantastic and great to work with, and they'll definitely be back.
Great gym as well.
Yeah, great gym, Nakmoy gym, of course.
Yeah.
So that was really good. Fight 2, Tommy Lowe, Mike Yurko.
Yeah.
Now, actually, so I had a few people in the crowd who questioned me about the decision. Now, what it was with them wasn't questioning saying it's right or wrong, but wanted some education. It's a really educational fight if you're new to Muay Thai, especially to watch the fight.
Right.
Where Yurko is tough, he's strong, he throws punches from all types of angles. And we know Trevor Smandich, trains them hard. We know this.
Yep, proper, yep.
With Tommy Lowe, he had just joined our gym from another gym, and he was only with us for 8 days before.
Okay.
So we didn't have much prep time. However, we stuck to the game plan which he was given. So we all know that Tommy Lowe, very good with elbows, good body kicker.
Yep.
So, as you know, Mike Yurko was coming forward with some heavy boxing, but not many of them were landing cleanly.
Yep.
And Tommy was like throwing body kicks. However, so going back to the scoring, which the judges were perfect and bang on, in my opinion, was that Tommy was landing the body kicks.
Right.
And Mike wasn't landing them back. But the heart of Mike, to keep going forward, because he came around, he literally into the 5th round, he was still coming.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Bad dude. Good fight. And he came... he beat Terry Terrazano in the last one. Right?
Yeah.
And
phenomenal.
I did great there. So he was happy to be back, and that's a good fight versus Tommy. Obviously, maybe want to avenge a loss for your teammate there. And Mike Yurko came out hard. Like, he came out to fight, and that's such a fun thing to be part of and experience. And because the same thing happened with the first fight. I guess maybe as a commentator, I expect, we'll dance around and. Fight 1, bang, these guys come crazy out. Mike Yurko and Tommy Lowe, bang, came straight out. Like, and it lasted the whole, is this goes on the whole time, man. This is going to be a fantastic fight card.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And it did.
Yeah, it was great.
going into fight 3, which for me was just, it put ladies Muay Thai on the map, was Hope Quinn, Stephanie Good.
Great fight.
Stephanie Good, southpaw, nicely skilled, good mover from dark side. Hope, very much in your face, heavy puncher, strong,
yep.
very strong performance.
Yep.
And Stephanie's movement and her skills were class, and she actually hit Hope with a head kick, I think at the end of round 2. And she can see those things, you can see them.
Yeah. But
then she started to fatigue.
Yeah.
And what Hope's got, she's got a phenomenal body shot. Literally, it's like, this is not a 125-pound girl hitting me. This is a guy of 150 pounds.
Yeah, she sits on it, yeah.
Yeah, and she sits on it. She's got the big legs, Quadzilla.
Yep, yep.
Queen Quadzilla, let's call her. So she sits on shots and literally went for the body. Now, as you know, at first you can take a few body shots, but it hurts.
Yep.
But as the round goes on, it obviously takes some gas from you.
Mm-hmm.
So she kept going to the body, even in clinch, which is very dangerous usually, but I hope that it paid off, I hope, this time. But that really started to pave away and chip away on Stephanie. And of course, she made she counted her out in the 3rd round, but great fight though.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Lots of people talk about that fight. I really have.
I was really worried about Hope at the beginning, man. Those knees were just touching her chin. I was like, oh boy, you better keep your head up. And she was hunting for it. But Hope definitely, those body shots have to take a toll. And you can see when she sits down on them, like that's like a signature shot. Like that's a heavy shot. And maybe the heat, maybe again the sea level had something to do with it. But Stephanie faded really, really quick. And it just turned the fight completely around.
It did. I personally think...
with no disrespect, Stephanie.
No, Jesus, I'll have her back. And we potentially matched her for the end of the year in Muay Thai World Cup 3.
Oh, great.
Again, great to work with. I personally think that nerves played a big part of that.
Yep.
She was nervous of Hope's power. And when you get nervous and you sort of, this is a big occasion, it takes the wind out of you. And then taking body shots. Yep. And then she started to feel, like that. That's what I think played a big part in it. Yep. But great fight, though.
Yeah, fantastic.
And what happened is she came back to the change room. And as you know, Hope... boyfriend is Mark McKinnon.
Yep.
So came back and Mark's buzzing.
Right.
So it raised the game for Mark.
Right.
Because of the performance I Hope put on, and he's smiling and happy. And it might have just took a bit of nerves away from him too, because not only is he fighting, his girlfriend's fighting, his partner's fighting.
Right.
It's the woman that he lives with.
And you can deny it all you want, but it's there.
It is there, yeah.
Deny it all you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Good for her.
So after the intermission, we then had the WBC 160-pound title against a guy you're very familiar with, Michael Fitzpatrick, and another guy you're familiar with, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
Justin Parsons.
Exciting one.
It was. Both very experienced. Parsons being the veteran, of course. Fitzpatrick still experienced at 23.
Yeah, no kidding.
And very emotionally driven, as we saw at the end, but a good fight.
Yeah.
A little bit controversial with the referee.
Yeah.
These things happen.
Yep.
And I'll go to that and talk about that subject before we actually talk about the fight.
Okay.
And this is my honest opinion. It's no dig at anyone at all. Is when you're in a fight, regardless whether it's boxing, MMA, even on the street or whatever it is, when someone says break it up, you keep going until someone actually gets in there and breaks it up.
Yep.
Now, I know you should be listening to refereeing. I know you're very professional fighters, but at the end of the day, when you're seeing red and you know the finish is coming, you're going to keep going for it. And as I talked about with Fitzpatrick, it's very emotional.
Sure, but I didn't even hear it.
Yeah, I know. So he's got boom. So he hit the elbow, and I know that Parsons' coach wasn't best pleased with that. However, I will not. I can't blame Fitzpatrick for that personally. Mm-hmm. I think it was an error from the ref. But these things happen,
Sure,
these things do happen.
I would say. Not to take it completely. I mean, Fitzpatrick maybe played the part in the fact that maybe it's just your fight style, but you are emotional, sir.
Oh yeah.
So and for sure you're seeing red. And that's your job. And like you said, when you see that finish, I'm sure you don't hear anything. You're gonna have to pull a dude away, right? Yeah. That happens.
But saying that, Parsons, ultimate gentleman, he came to fight. And this meant a lot to him, this fight. You could see how much it meant to him.
It broke my heart at the end.
I know.
How much it meant to him.
And he really tried.
Yeah.
But Fitzpatrick was just a younger, fresher guy.
Yep.
And the be all and end all was. It became really, in the third round, it became an occasion where this has got to be stopped, and it did get stopped.
Yes. The couple notes I saw from this, number one, I was super impressed with how hard Fitzpatrick can knee while having his belly on his opponent. I mean, that's good Muay Thai clinch, obviously.
Hip motion. Yeah.
Exactly. Fantastic. I was really impressed with Justin Parsons' hand speed and how hard he hit Fitzpatrick with leg kicks. Maybe, I'm just guessing.
No, I tell you, Fitzpatrick's legs were fucked afterwards.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about Muay Thai, or just being part of it, is like in between rounds, when you look at corners, you see reactions in fighters' eyes, you see how they're breathing, you see how the corner's reacting. And I was assuming that he was maybe not hurt, let's not say visibly hurt that we could see from his leg, but I felt like he was worried. Like, those leg kicks aren't something I can take all night. I sort of felt like I saw that, and then he got real close, and boy, did that change the fight completely.
Oh, yeah.
He is a savage.
Oh, yeah. And, like Fitzpatrick was, when he came back to the corner, he was like, this is my time. I'm a believer. And he's self-motivating himself. Oh, don't get me wrong, I am.
Sure, but that's 90% of it right there.
Oh, yeah. And, he finished, it was rightly stopped.
Yep.
And you could see how much it meant to him afterwards. Of course, his nan passed away.
Right.
And he brought that up. And he had a lot of time off. And I don't know if you know this or not. This is just me being me, but I saw a podcast last year, and I speak to him quite a bit because he came to the gym to do some training.
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Yep.
After he lost to McMillan, he was 190 pounds, and I was like, what are you doing? Don't know. I might have this fight in Thailand. My gym's going really well. I'm doing very well financially. So I was like, okay. I know what's going on here. He's becoming comfortable.
Yeah.
But you have a skill in your 22, 23. Don't throw it away. But it's all good me saying it, but it's whether he's going to or not.
Yeah.
And then anyway, so several months passed and he went on some podcast. I don't know what the podcast was. And he then said, I'm done. I'm retired. So I was like,
weird.
So I called him up and said, listen, you're not done. I will give you a plan, a set plan. And you're going to have to meet these challenges. You're going to have to fight, but you're not done. Because I know you want to fight, but you just, because of COVID, and then because your gym's doing very well and successful with Spartan's gym's doing great. And I'm loving people when they do well. But don't get to 35. And I've seen this, and you've seen this. I know on other sports and other people say, don't get to 35 and say, do you know what? I wish, because I will slap you hard. All right. And so you've got to think about that. So next day he called me up and said, you're right. I said, have I lit your fire? He said, yeah. I said, okay, I've got a plan for you.
Well done, coach.
And the plan is for you to go for the title, but I want you to move to 160 because 154 isn't good. Mm-hmm. So he moved to 160. He came training with me. And Justin Parsons had called him out friendly. So let's make that fight. It makes sense. And then he's won the title and then it all came out. You could see after the fight, it was very emotional.
Yep.
And then obviously after the fight, we've spoke and we've got this plan, which is to have a few more fights. He still wants to retire in a few years. Yep. But he wants to get to the big leagues now. And It's like he's got the drive now. So I'm going to say this before we go on to the next fight.
Yep.
Is the resume for fighting is sometimes you don't necessarily financially get paid too well. We know this with Muay Thai. I never got paid a lot of money.
Right.
But the resume of me fighting and what I did and experiences of Thailand, Holland, training with all different people, networking, meeting and fighting with different people and stadiums, whatever, is after fighting, it built this great resume.
Right.
Right. And that is what's going to lay your path for the rest of your life.
Right.
Hence, I'm in Canada now, who would have thought this when I first started fighting? And,
no kidding.
Running a gym and having lots of fighters and now putting shows on. So I'm trying to explain this to Mike. So this is, it's like, okay, so you have to take 6, 7, 8 weeks off work, your gym, and technically you'll lose a bit of money.
Yep. But
the long-term plan is you won't.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, he's got the fire back, which is great.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward for him defending that. Maybe at the end of the year or early next year, he'll be back on. But, going back to Justin Parsons, they're both crying, weren't they?
Yeah.
It meant a lot to him.
Yeah.
And he was typically what happens is when you're emotional, you say things, and he's like, "Oh, I'm done. I'm going to retire."
It lasted like
5 days.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, he messaged me, "I'm back. I want to fight. Can you get me on?" So I said yes. So November 20th, Muay Thai World Cup 3.
Good man.
We're going to have him on again because he's great to work with, gentleman.
Yeah, I've been talking back and forth with him, and I like you, man. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of you as a man, and the things you've had to go through, and a fighter. So I'm pretty happy to see him back, and I'll be watching you on Instagram training up at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., whatever, 10 p.m., whatever it is. Like, you know, I'm super impressed just with his work ethic and him as a gentleman. Like you said.
Do you know what I love about one of the things I love about Thai boxing and Canada is these little towns. We talked about it earlier before this podcast. These little towns. He comes from St. John's, and there's nothing going on there at all. And apparently, like, this fight was the talk of the town.
All right,
for that weekend.
Nice.
You know, and he had a few viewers from where he was coming from, and when he went back, unlucky, but he had a good response, and I love that.
Me too.
Yeah, I love that.
Well done. Good. Before we move on, real quick, this is directly to you, Mr. Fitzpatrick. I tell my fighters, because we all have good days and bad days, this applies to 95% of the population. You get youth or you get experience. You don't get both. You are in that 5%, sir. Keep going. That's a rare thing you get. You get youth and experience.
You gonna cry now? Or?
No, man. This whole quitting thing, like you're crazy. You get youth or experience, and only a certain few get both.
Exactly.
And you're in that certain few, man. Like, your future is huge.
But the thing is, like, where he lives, or Toronto, where they lived, as you know, there isn't any professional shows there.
Yeah.
So I'm giving him that. Yeah, that's fine, but I'm going to give him that opportunity because he deserves it.
I agree.
So, and he had the crowd with his girlfriend with a huge flag. I was loving that. I was actually quite jealous. I hadn't thought of that idea.
Right.
So next show, you're going to see huge flags. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, well done.
So, going on to the next one was co-main, Devon Littleshields.
Yep.
FA Caliscan from the One Gym, trained by Simon Marcus.
Yep.
Good fight.
Yeah. I was Devon Littleshield's front kick, man. His teep is something like that's the thing you're gonna have to deal with. Like I can't. It's so long. He throws it so well, and not like a push, man. It's a punch with the bottom of his foot.
But how cool is he?
Oh man, I sent Chad Sawyer, his coach, genius. I sent you a message a few years ago and went, I genuinely don't understand how that guy's so cool and calm in there. Like, it's like he's had 100 fights.
Well, he's 6'5", 168 pounds. He said to me he could drop to 160.
Well, doesn't mean you have to.
No, I know. I know. He doesn't even like walk around heavy either. That's the classic. But lovely kid, cool and calm, which is one of the things that you need, which is actually very hard to train. You've probably got that or you haven't.
Yeah.
In the ring. Was he 15 or 14-0 now? 14-0.
14, yeah.
And fair play to FA, bought it.
Yeah.
You know, Simon Marcus doesn't train him lightly.
No.
He came, but just Devon was just that little bit more.
Yep. Yeah, I loved FA's sneaky high left kick there. Just lean back and throw it up. Caught Devon a few times off guard there. But yeah, tough kid, great guard. I was really impressed with his guard. And just that wall of traffic you got to get through to touch Devon is just so hard to get through.
I know. And what's next for Devon is, I've been speaking to Chad about what's next for him and what he wants. He does want to turn pro. He wants one, potentially two more fights. Wants an international fight.
Yeah.
And then he wants to turn pro. But, 168 is a big division.
Yes. And
there's lots of fighters in that division. You've got, obviously, Scott McKenzie, Jake McKenzie, Derek Juvelli, of course, and Rashido. So got some good guys there. Philip Engeroff, of course.
Those are all heavy hitters.
Yeah, some good fights there for him. Potentially, he's got a good future.
Yep.
Going to the main fight, we talked about it before. We had it on our first show. Tim Lowe versus Mark McKinnon.
Yep.
And Johnson Garzon said to me, and he's right. He said, not many main fights or domestic main fights live up. It's usually a little bit,
Right.
But boy, did it live up.
Oh, man. Like, those are big boys slugging in there. Like, I admit...
There was a guy in the crowd who shouted out, "It's Conan the Barbarian."
Oh, no
Mark
joke,
McKinnon.
man. He is enormous.
I know.
Oh, what a beast. When I'm commentating, like, obviously they weigh a lot more and just, the horsepower in these guys. As I'm commentating and hearing them hit each other, just in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, God, like, that's gotta hurt. Like, I mean, Lowe, do your thing, but like just the crack and the crunch and the thud, like, oh, these boys were slamming.
It was. And you know what? Before obviously Mark won, we still got to decide, has actually been sent off, whether he actually won by 5th round stoppage or it was points because of what happened at the end.
Yeah.
However, that's here or there. For me, Tim Lowe showed why he's a champion. How fucking tough is he?
I couldn't believe it, man. Like, when I saw that head kick, listen, Tim's a teammate of mine.
I know.
It was tough to commentate and be excited while your teammate is getting roughed up. I admit that.
Of course.
And after that head kick, I was like, oh man, that's it. And he immediately got back up. It was right in front of me and flush. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, and then at the end of the fight, like, I don't, Tim, I've already spoken to you about this. I don't have words. Like, everyone's a tough guy. And then there's that.
Yeah.
You know
you
what I
can't
mean?
train. But you know what? So I'm going to say this to Tim, and I've said it to him many times. Him and Ryan, his coach, are the best people I've ever worked with in Muay Thai World Cup.
Love those guys.
I kid you not. If I say to Tim, hey Tim, would you mind posting you training? Literally within an hour he's done it for me. Like, hey Tim, would you mind doing this? Yeah, no problem. Like, hey Tim, could you come down to do a shoot? Yeah, no problem. Boom, he comes down. He's so good to work with, and I know that his father passing was a big thing for him. But I'll tell you about him. I don't know if I said it earlier, but Muay Thai World Cup 2 initially was going to happen in the end of March when COVID happened. 3 weeks before the show, COVID dropped, and the show got cancelled. And then Tim's dad passed, and I called him up and said, I know how much that man meant to you because he was your, I think, karate, taekwondo coach. I'm not too sure.
Taekwondo, yeah.
I'm not too sure. And, etc. It's your father as well. And I'd met him 2 times. So I know how much of a figure he was to you. Yet he's passed away and you were going to fight a week later. So I called you up and said, listen, fight will be off. We understand it, or 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
No, I'm still fighting. Yeah, I said, are you sure? And he's like, yep, I'm sure. So I know how much his father meant to him, but wow.
Yeah, man.
What a man.
Yeah, no kidding. I love both those guys. I love Tim, I love Ryan. Awesome professionals, great people. Love them to death.
But, the fight, I'm going to be honest with you, I wanted it to be stopped. Because Tim's such a nice guy, Mark put a wrecking on him. And do you know what Tim said? Tim's so honest. He said afterwards he got hit with a teep, a push kick from the back leg. And it just took all the wind out of him. And when he was trying to focus on, that hurt, he was then getting bombarded with shots.
Yeah. And
I personally believe I would have liked to have seen it waved off earlier.
Me too.
Or tail thrown in. Because when you see a person that we just talked about, like a good gentleman, lose like that and damaged after that, and let's be honest, you're not getting paid millions. You're not getting paid a ton of money. But his courage was just next level.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't want to take anything away, of course, from that, but Mark's performance, just what was it like? It was just amazing.
His left hook landed whenever he wanted it to happen, and he just bullied Tim like in the clinch. I mean, if you're keeping it simple, the goal in the clinch obviously keep the spine straight, fold the other guy over, and Tim just could not keep his spine straight in there. He got folded over and over and over. As well as Chris McMillan said it best, Mark was a bug at a barbecue with Tim. He wasn't overly hunting him, but just kind of drowning him a little, but heavy, but stayed on him. It's hard to recover when you're like that. It's hard to get your bearings. It's hard to do anything.
Yeah.
When A, you're getting folded in the clinch, B, you're getting hit with a left hook, a right kick, a head kick, a body punch, and some of them really friggin' hurt.
Oh, yeah. Now, what we worked on with Mark for Gameplan was I believe that Mark, in my opinion, was more powerful and stronger than Tim, but Tim's very dangerous. What we worked on with Mark was actually a mindset. I was going to get him fit, I was going to get him strong, he was going to have to do all the training that I told him to do, he was going to have to do all the sparring, all the rounds, he went to a boxing gym for boxing, all of that. But in his previous fights, what he's done, he's not got his own way, and sometimes run out of gas. But it's not, funny enough, it's not physical.
Right.
It's sometimes mental. So we've had to work on that. So we talked about this, about staying cool. Now, you see in round 2, I said, go for the finish, because I thought he'd finished Tim. And he came back and he was, and I said to him, remember what we said, cool, this is your fight. Even though he was tired, the big guys, the 200 pounds, after the weigh-in.
Yeah.
But he kept his hands up the whole time.
Yep.
And then round 3 was a bit tired.
Yep.
Got his win back. Round 4, 5, he started sticking to the plan, putting together some good elbows, head kicks, and everything started to land precisely. There was a lot of damage.
Yep.
So,
the things that caught my eye with Mark, obviously his lead hook that was landing, as well as his body cross to head kick. That caught my eye many times.
Yeah.
He'd throw it, kind of keep his head fairly low and throw the head kick, and then obviously it landed unbelievably flush. Now, my only criticism with Mark is exactly what you said. I thought as maybe the fight gets on, or maybe momentum shifts to the other side, maybe he tries too hard to get it back and he would gas a little bit. That was my one criticism, and I thought maybe that was showing itself in round 3, and then holy cow, a new Mark came out, and what like who wants to fight Mark? Nobody wanted to fight Tim, really. Who wants to fight Mark?
He's got some people in his weight division. So he's going to fight in November.
Nice.
I cannot announce against 2 because nothing's been signed. And we have a career path for Mark.
Cool.
And it's exciting. It's exciting because after watching that, and I actually had the WBC vice president, he rang me up and just said, Jesus Christ, who's this guy?
Right.
He'd never heard of him before.
I bet that sentence was said lots.
Oh, yeah. And then he was like, get a highlight video of this guy, cut it up, that's going to go viral.
No joke.
Yeah. And we had so many responses from everywhere, and we've had some offers too, which is great. But we have a career for him. And, Mark's back in the gym. He's had a week off and he's back in the gym. And, when you have a win like that,
yeah,
comes back.
Yeah, you got the McGregor strut coming in the gym.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that with Mark, to be fair. He's not that type of person.
Right.
But
the feeling.
Yeah, the feeling. It's like this presence.
Yeah.
So that's good. So moving on, we have 2 events more. One's called the Journey.
Okay.
To Muay Thai World Cup, which is an amateur-only event.
Awesome.
It's going to be held at the Bullhead Arena, September the 4th. Garzon's back. He's fighting Basil Tiago. He's ranked in a weight above.
Right.
He's won the American what's the American Championships called?
WKA?
No, the one where they have big groups of Americans fight. They go every year. Well, he's won that tournament anyway.
Congrats.
Yeah. You've actually been, I'm sure. You've been. It's in like Utah or something.
In Iowa there, the TBAs?
Yes, TBAs.
Dude, awesome tournament, by the way.
Right, so he's won that. So, good guy, good fighter, and that's going to be a great fight. Johnson's got to step it up now after that win. Hope Quinn's fighting.
Oh, can I ask you a quick question?
Go.
So the guy that won, that Johnson's fighting, did Johnson fight the same year he won?
He did, but a different weight class.
Okay. But I could probably look into that then. Cool.
Oh, there you go.
Cool.
Something for you to look at when you commentate.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's a full amateur show, and what we wanted to do was make it a bit different. So we have a full amateur show, all the stars of tomorrow, the usual thing. The main fight is actually Hope Quinn versus Stephanie Quick.
Oh, no way. Crazy.
Good fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. A Calgary fight.
Yeah.
I love a domestic fight, but a town city fight.
Yeah, you bet.
Even better.
Yeah, awesome.
So that's going to be a good fight. Full undercards. We have, fights from all over Canada again. Fitzpatrick's bringing a team over. 4 or 5 guys from Toronto, fights from Manitoba, Edmonton, all over. So
September 4th?
September the 4th.
Awesome. Stephanie Quick from Team Smandage.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good. Yeah, it took me a second. Been a while for her, but good for her.
Yeah, no, she's been out, but obviously they've seen something and they want the fight. And it makes sense. It's a good fight.
Good for her.
And Hope's on that run. Quick's a good fighter from a great gym, so that's going to be a great fight. September the 4th. So that's going to be all posted on all the media platforms next week, so that's great. Then we've got a main event, which is the Muay Thai World Cup 3. That's coming in November. We're back in the arena, Seven Chiefs.
Yes.
Where, of course, you were present with Chris McMillan.
Insane.
So that's back November 20th. It will have Mark McKinnon. It will have Scott McKenzie. It will have... I can't announce the matchups, unfortunately.
Okay, that's
Sorry.
sorry.
Stephanie Shamali.
Oh, good.
She's going to be on it. She's actually turning pro.
Good.
So
Good.
She's going to be in a...
She should.
She's in a great domestic fight. That's the hint.
All right. Wheels are turning.
Oh, yeah. Will be back. So there's a few big fights to be announced on that one. We're actually just going through that. It's a few months away, but...
Just found out today, by the way, I get to have surgery on my deviated septum thanks to Will breaking my eye socket sparring. Thanks, Will.
Really?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
It was a few years ago. I know Will I know feels bad, but I just found out today that I got to get some surgery on it. So, thanks, Will.
That's a shout out.
Yeah.
That's a shout out and a half.
Yeah, no joke.
All right, so hot topic. And you're going to like this one because it's about the youths and the juniors and what's next for them.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you a question. And how do you feel about juniors? And if they came to you, say a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, now let's say 9-year-old, 10-year-old comes to you and says, Jason, I want to be a Muay Thai fighter.
Mm-hmm.
How do I make a career of this?
Right.
Now, I wanted to do two answers for that. One is from being in Calgary.
Yeah.
And a Canadian.
Yeah.
And two, just for Muay Thai in general, if you're a youngster.
Yeah. I sort of feel this is a loaded question because the answer is do your homework, brush your teeth, train really hard, and we'll probably get you a fight in 10 years. Right? Like there isn't much of a path. I mean, we're only really seeing youth fights around here recently, well, before this COVID silliness, but the path, I mean, Iowa just opened up a path, a little bit.
Good. But
there really isn't one. That's the bottom line.
Okay, so what about general? Forget Calgary, forget Canada.
Sure. Well, number one, we're going to train every day. That's where most people fail, but we're going to train, obviously, and we're going to have to travel looking for fights. That's the bottom line. Whether it's Iowa, we get to compete once or twice a year. Maybe we beg to go to fight cards, whatever. But unfortunately, at that age, you're going to have to travel, and that's the bottom line.
Right. So, thanks for that. This is why I announced yesterday the WBC World Youth Championships.
Awesome.
But there's a story to it, which is, I think you're going to like it. I think you really will. So, when I first came to Calgary, in fact, I came in 2015. Charlie fought Hakeem.
Right.
But going forward a couple of years, and okay, this is the place I'm going to live. I went to an event, and I thought to myself, these are nice events, 400, 500, 600 people, some really good fighters. I've always talked about some really good fighters, but they haven't got the platform to fight them. So then when I came here, I launched Muay Thai World Cup, and I've got to be honest with you, the pros are 29, 30, 31, 32 years of age.
Yeah.
Fantastic, no problem, because nowadays your career is a little bit longer, a few more years. Then we started the Prospect Series, which is amateurs, of course, and they will look up to the pros. This is what I want to be.
Yep.
And when I want to become a pro, I want to get into the rankings, which we then launched. You and I did the rankings. And then from rankings, you want to become a champion, a WBC champion. When you become a WBC champion, you try to fight. I always believe you should fight all the best in the country.
Yep.
Before moving to the next stage. So you become champion. And then you go into the WBC rankings. How the WBC works is if you're in the top 20, you can challenge for the WBC international belt.
I see.
Which, in my opinion, you must defend once, twice, 3 times.
International?
Okay. International,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
Then, if you get to the top 10, you can fight for the world title. If you're a promoter, you can bid for it. So now, an adult now has a path. So amateur.
Right.
Rankings. Let's turn pro. Let's fight for a belt.
International.
Let's go international. Let's fight for world. And who knows, after becoming a WBC world champion, maybe you get some big recognition. You might be able to go into one championship.
Yep.
So there is that career for them. But you said And you're right, there is no career path for a junior.
No.
So I thought about this. So I approached the WBC, and it's been going on for about a year now.
Okay, so this isn't new for you, new to us.
Yeah, it's new to you.
Yeah.
So I've been going for a year, and I approached Nash Kushwala, who's the WBC United Kingdom, but I've known him for 25 years. And I said, look, Nash, I've got this concept. It's a World Youth Championships, concentrate on the kids. I have 2 reasons why I want to do it. Obviously, for the growth of Muay Thai to find the next star, etc. But selfishly, if we can get this, I want it to be in Calgary. I want it to be in Alberta, the first ever World Championships, because that's what I want to do.
All right.
But I want it for this reason. They strip back everything we just talked about. Talk about the kid who goes to the show that just spoke to you.
Right.
Now he has a career. Now he can go, okay, I need to get into the national tournament. If I can win the national tournament, I can get a gold medal for Canada. I can then enter into the World Championships,
right,
which will be every 2 years. We're getting bids, by the way, for 2024 already.
Oh, no way.
I'm not even joking. It's nuts.
Wow.
The response from yesterday, but we actually told all the representatives last week. We've had 30, 40 countries already enter into this tournament. 39 fighters, combatants, whatever you want to call them, athletes, entered in.
Holy
per
cow.
country. We're talking
per country.
Coming to summer, August 2022, will be 2,000 people from different countries. That's fucking massive, right? The point being is, though, I'm going to strip it back to that kid. He has a career now.
Right.
I know in Canada they have hockey, they have all these other sports that go on. Hockey has its own how to work it, how you work up the system.
Right.
Amateur boxing has its own how you work up the system. Thai boxing doesn't, especially in Canada it doesn't. Now we do. But this grows into something else. You go to the nationals, you qualify, you try your best to win and represent your country. You then qualify for the World Championships. In between that, you're going to have the Americas and Pan American Games. So now kids have got a journey.
Right.
A journey now. So when they turn 18, they now can turn into an amateur with at least multiple fights behind them. Right. Instead of, amateurs just swinging at each other, right, you're now going to find defined kids fighting.
Which I think it's pretty good. It seems like a good system in the UK. Like there's lots of junior fights.
The problem is with the UK is there are a lot of junior fights, but there are a lot of different promotions that do the junior competitions.
Okay, I see.
So it's now going to get channeled into this.
Awesome. They're
all going to channel into the WBC Nationals, which we're going to host in Canada also. Every country has to qualify for the World Championships.
Right.
But yeah, in UK there's a lot of things going on. Smokers like continuous, we call them inter clubs. A lot of shows where they open up the show with kids, and we've got a lot of experienced kids. But if you go to like Canada, there isn't that many.
No.
Yeah. In the next 10 years, it's going to be.
That's wild, man.
Because of this system, I'm convinced. But who's the kid from Toronto? Riley Fodden.
Yep.
He's great, but he went for the IFMA system.
Right.
And he won a couple of medals and things like that. So now turning pro as an adult or being an amateur, he's now had some fights. And look how good that he is.
Right.
Now we're going to get so many more.
That's so exciting, man.
And I think, personally, it's my personal opinion, Canada will, and America potentially will, struggle a bit in the first World Championships.
Sure, of course. We're this is new to us.
It's new. But you watch 2 years from now, in the next World Championships, the bar's going to raise. And then 4 years down the line, I think we're going to see medalists.
Man, that's going to be awesome. That's pretty wild. That's big ambitions, man. Good for you.
Yeah, but you see the whole thing now?
Right.
So
we're not just coming to class. Maybe we'll do an interclub. Hey, maybe I'll wave at my mom in the crowd.
Yeah, that's it. We've now got but it's not just for me. That's the whole thing which I'm trying to tell people is the kid who goes to a show, I love this. Dad, I want to do this. Let's find a local club. Right. Now the local clubs. Because really, we need it. You own a gym. I manage a gym, coach fighters, and so do you. And we need the stars we need the next Mark McKinnon.
Right.
But we need him at a young kid, 10.
Right.
By the time he's 20, 18, 19, 20, he's had 50, 60, 70, 80 junior fights.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just unheard of.
Longevity. And that's what you want. I don't believe in short-lived stuff.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that's the plan. So, WBC World Youth Championships, the first ever one, will be held in August 2022. We are going to do Nationals. Date hasn't been announced. It's likely in May.
So a few months before.
Yeah, a few months before. And the reason being is we keep it close. It's because kids grow.
Right.
So you have a kid who's in 102 pound division, say.
Yeah.
And then great. 6 months later he's 140 pounds.
Yeah.
So we have to keep it as close as possible. And of course, being in Canada logistically, it makes a lot of sense.
Awesome. There you go. Parents, coaches, it's time to treat junior seriously. There's an avenue for everyone now. That's unbelievable.
Well, that's a wrap on the show. It's a bit of a raw edition. I wanted to talk about Muay Thai World Cup, the WBC, journey to Muay Thai World Cup.
I quickly want to give a really fast shout out. I know that I know that at least somebody in Africa listens to this show, and that would be my friend in the Lion Tonde district of Uganda. I know you and your community hang out and watch this share. Yes, sir, on his little phone. He's the only one on the phone out there. So listen, man, shout out to you guys. Hi, what's everybody. Xander and everybody in Lion Tonde. I see you guys. I hear you. And I hope you guys are doing okay.
That's amazing.
It's pretty awesome, man.
That's great. Well, that's a wrap.